Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Paul Miller, President of the Northwest Florida Manufacturers Council. This community is lucky to have the collaborative network we have. The Economic Development Council of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa County School System work closely with local companies to ensure that the community has all the resources we need to remain strong in the future. All of us agree the most important resource is you, the students and teachers in the area, who are working hard to develop the skill sets needed by the local companies. We have a great resource in Techman and Northwest Florida Manufacturer Council member Mag Aero, nominated for the Florida Governor Sterling Award in just their first attempt at the process. If you'd like to hear from more companies like Mag Aero, please visit our website, NWFMC.org, or Techman's at florida-edc.org, and let us know which companies can help you implement your curriculum. At the end of the presentation, there will be a brief survey. Please fill this out so our partners at FLATE can improve our abilities to serve your needs. If you have a question you'd like answered during the presentation, there's a Q&A box. Type it in and we'll try to answer. When the video starts, hover your mouse over the video, and on the bottom left part of the media player is a speaker icon so you can turn up the volume. To get us started, here's Linda Sublin, Techman Manager, followed by Okaloosa County Superintendent Marcus Chambers.
So good morning. First of all, I just want to extend a welcome to all of our students in our Okaloosa County School District, as well as our instructors. And one of the things I wanted to say today is, career technical education is it's turning into, the wave of the future. Where back in the day, students used to prepare for English, math, science, and social studies, and those courses are still extremely important, but today it's all about career and technical education. Our governor of the state of Florida, he set a goal by the year 2030 that Florida will be #1 in career and technical education. And here in Okaloosa County, we definitely want to set the stage to be able to help that goal become a reality. But we want to be a leader in Okaloosa County when it comes to career and technical education. And you think about right now the course that you're in, whether it be advanced manufacturing, whether it be engineering, and then think about all the other CTE courses you've taken. And the beauty is you're taking courses that's not only going to help you in your high school career, but you're taking courses that can set the stage for you whether you go to college, whether you go to the military, or whether you go straight to the workforce. In our county right now, we are taking career and technical education very seriously. And we want to be able to be a school district that helps students in whatever choices that they make after high school. And what we are blessed here in Okaloosa County is the fact that we have so many amazing career and technical education opportunities work-wise for students, whether it's MAG Aerospace, whether it's Fort Walton Beach Machining, or whether it's any of the other industries that are located here. So the thing that I'm excited about is, and I hope our students realize and our instructors, is we're trying to become not only one of the top career and technical education districts, but we want to start even at the elementary level. And just for students and our instructors, this year in elementary, we're starting a coding program. And our whole goal is to have a community of code where kids from elementary all the way to the workforce can have a stage set for them where they can continue to grow throughout high school and eventually get a job here in our local area. So again, whether you're going to go to college, whether you're going to go into the military, or whether you're going to go straight into the workforce, an opportunity like today where you'll be touring MAG Aerospace is something that I hope that you're excited about, because in this particular company, there's students from Okaloosa County who are working here. For Walton Beach Machining, the same thing. So whether you're in the middle school class right now, whether you're in the high school class right now, you can dream and think about, where will I be 5 years from now? Where will I be 10 years from now? You might be a leader at MAG Aerospace. You might be a leader at Fort Walton Beach Machining. So just keep that piece in mind. And as you continue to go throughout high school and getting those industry certs, just keep your mind on the prize of, what is my future going to look like? And to our CTE instructors, I cannot thank you more. I know many of you, not only are you certified in this area, but you continue to get more certifications to keep yourself even up to speed even more so, and that's difficult. But we absolutely appreciate all that you do for your students, and we are looking forward to a great day. And I just want to thank EDC, I want to thank Linda Sumlin, I just want to thank MAG Aerospace for this opportunity today. We appreciate all that you're doing for Okaloosa schools and the community at large. So thank you.
Well, welcome. I'm Chad Voyevich. I think the next piece we're going to do right now is I'm going to let you watch a video that's going to help you tour the facility, and then we'll go through some slides and I'll answer some questions. I see the question that David Carrier asked just now, and so I'll answer it right now, and we'll kind of break and answer questions as we go. But in order to work at MAG Aerospace, you have to be at least 18 years old, because you have to acquire a security clearance to work here. So Amanda, if you'll start the virtual tour, we can move on after that. Hi.
It's a very nice video. Thank you so much, Chad, and your team really did a nice job. I'd like to introduce Chad now to get the
I'll stand.
presentation started off. You ready, Chad?
So, yes, can you hear me? Am I coming in clearly? Uh-oh. Starting now. Yes. Can they hear us? What's going on here? How about... I don't know. Can you hear me?
Hey, Chad, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, I'm not for sure how many people saw the video. We got a couple texts saying that some of the video wasn't shown. You were watching us all sit around the table. Can I get a clarification on the attendees? If you were able to see the video real quick, you can do it in your text or whatever, but we may have to figure out how to air that again at the end. Not for sure.
Paul's having comms issues.
Okay, so if you'll just switch to the next slide. So here at MAG, the thing that makes us a little bit different is we are really trying to engineer a smaller and safer world. And what that means is we build communication systems that allow you to talk and to see and to visualize and to make decisions no matter if you're in Asia, North America, South America, out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It doesn't really matter, right? That's kind of our vision, and our mission here is we engineer solutions that enhance organizational capabilities at home, abroad, and for those in harm's way. That doesn't necessarily mean just the military. We also work with emergency services, and we try to assist in everyday local emergencies or state emergencies or Department of Homeland Security. We work with the FBI and some other joint forces to make sure that you stay safe and that everybody working these type of missions can actually see, hear, and do all the things that they're supposed to be able to do and make decisions in real time so that they can make the right decision at the right time and prevent anyone from getting hurt, prevent any dangers from happening, and to make sure that everyone participating in the operation comes home safely. Next slide. So here in Fort Walton Beach, MAG Aerospace has two facilities. The one we're in today and the one that you toured, we actually call the TISC. It stands for Technology Integration and Support Center. And here we focus on Air Force Special Operations Command primarily. We also support other customers in the Pacific region as well as interagency or for short I call them the three-letter agencies, CIA, DEA, DHS, FBI. You know them all from TV, but at the end of the day, they send their hardest communication problems to me and say, I need help. I need to move this information from one point to another. Chad, I need your team to figure this out. And we engineer the solution from the source to the end destination. Next slide. So who works here? What type of people? Mostly this organization is built up around what we call a systems engineer. Now, what makes up a systems engineer is typically someone that works between all the other fields of engineering. You're able to take everything that the electrical engineer, the mechanical engineer, the aeronautical engineer, everybody, RF engineer, everyone that's contributing to your solution, you help each part of their solution interconnect and communicate between systems so that your full-on solution works. In order to do that, though, you require lots of support, so it's not just engineering. We have configuration managers, we have production support, people that actually do documents and printing, they build videos, they build training. We also have coordinators that coordinate meetings. enterprise architects that do design. So MAG Aerospace, we employ lots and lots of different skill sets, but we try to only employ a few of every skill set instead of one very specific skill set. We are heavily focused in network engineering, and we do work primarily on government systems. So I know somewhere's in there someone's going to have a question of, what is the very first thing I need to do to work at MAG Aerospace? And the very first thing you must do is you must pass your Security Plus exam. It is a CompTIA exam, and if you're in high school, you should be studying and you should pass it before you ever leave high school. That's step one. And that allows you to work on any government network as an IAT Level 2 professional, and it would give you the ability to intern here while you're in college, or if you wanted to try and come in as an intern and work your way up through the mastering skills, that is what would allow you to come work here at MAG Aerospace. So the question earlier was, how old do you have to be? When you graduate high school, if you're 18 years old, you can acquire a security clearance, and if you have a CompTIA certification of Security Plus, we can bring you here. We can start you at a minimal salary, grow you into whatever engineer you would like, either through traditional means, which means we would help pay for your college, or we do industry certifications in a lot of fields. My lead engineer does not have a college degree, but has years and years of certifications in Cisco and Juniper that allows him to build networks that operate globally through multiple carriers like Cox, Verizon, CenturyLink, and he makes all of those networks work together because of all of those industry certifications he's achieved in a 10-year period. So next slide. All right, so what are the challenges of today, right? Let's talk about your everyday challenge as a kid. Right now, some of you are in brick and mortar, some of you are remote and distance learning through online services. You need to be able to read and write, see video, talk, move information, have people understand your emotional state. All of these things take place by data movement and data distribution. And just like you have the challenges in school of trying to maintain your education from there and afar, so does the military, so does most emergency services. And what we do is we allow them to do it faster, more robustly, and we make sure that they get all the information they need real time. So as you read, there's lots of solutions and lots of results, but the fact of the matter is we're trying to bring information to people faster, more resiliently, and move more information than anyone else can move at any one time. Next slide. All right, so I like to use this picture because it's a little bit more understanding. In emergency services or the military, every worker, you see him every day, police officers carrying multiple things on his police belt, on his chest. He's got video cameras. He's got all this stuff he's carrying around. So does the fireman. So does the military person. And most of the time, they get those products from different vendors, different salesmen, different what we call manufacturers, right? And when they get them, they don't always work. And they're not necessarily built on the same standards. They don't have the same open technology. So what we do here at MAG Aerospace is you come and say, I have all this gear, Chad. It doesn't work. I can make one thing work, but I can't make the other thing work. And they bring it here, and we take all of their disparate systems, and we interconnect them like in the picture on the right. We make every one of their systems on their body talk, and we allow them to move that information between devices on their body, which we call a personal area network, and then we move it all the way across a wide area network to wherever they need the information to go. In some cases, it's to go back to their headquarters, and in other cases, it's to go to a supporting service. Sometimes the police officers need to talk with the firemen, who need to talk with the ambulatory services, and we help them interconnect all them systems to work. Where it gets more complicated is when we talk about large-scale transport, because you can only see about 7 miles, right? And then even if you have large, tall antennas, you still can only get out about, we're going to say 15 miles. And so we do terrestrial and beyond line of sight through satellites to move all your information all the way around the world. But that seems easy, but we do it in real time. So if you've ever talked to maybe an aunt or an uncle or another family member that lives in a different country, you know that there's often a delay in the phone call. You have to talk, then you wait, they hear it, then they talk, you wait. But the point here is we do it so that there is none of that latency. That when an aircraft is flying overhead, looking at something in the ocean, we are seeing the same video at the same exact time here in the United States. And we do it well. We do it better than most. And that's a little bit of my own pride, but it isn't me that does it. It's all these wonderful engineers and wonderful thinkers and wonderful people that come together, and they bring all of their own unique talents, their own unique problem-solving skills, and they work together as a team to solve each area of the solution that's required to get the job done. And then in the bottom, what that really talks about, and it may make sense, it may not make sense, but the reality here is when you design and you build framework, a lot of people build it congested. They don't take in consideration of all the other partners. But here we bring in all of those problems and we make it an agile process where every portion of the system of systems, multiple products, are considered at every decision, and we constantly do revision all through development. So we make sure that we don't lose any one capability of one product while we're trying to make them all interconnect. Next slide. Okay, before I go on, I covered a little bit of kind of the base of what we do here. Is there any questions that you'd like me to answer right now? Because I don't want to get lost in the sauce. I want to make sure everybody enjoys this. I'm going through the Q&A section right now. Everybody. So most people saw the video. That's a good thing.
There's a whole group that didn't, but everybody's online.
So apparently you had to minimize the media
Yeah.
player or something.
Yeah, that's what I've been,
Okay, so
but right now everybody's.
one of the first questions that was asked to me, and I think is important, is the question was asked, how important is diversity to MAG Aerospace? I want to first start by saying diversity is a large word, right? In the fact of the matter, MAG Aerospace works on lots of different career fields all simultaneously. And every career field has different people. So when you say how important is diversity, my lead cyber engineer is a female. My lead enterprise architect is an African American. It doesn't matter who you are or where you belong. Everybody has good ideas, and we hire probably one of the most diverse workforces in this area because we hire people that are also not necessarily from this country, that they have different software or networking skills. They can't necessarily work in this building because they don't have a security clearance, but it is very important that we take all the commercial technology from across the world, no matter whether it's developed in America or it's developed in a foreign country, if it's studied in one college or another college. It is very important that we bring all of that different diversity and learning experience into this building because we're trying to solve some of the most complex problems in the world today. There are a lot of your jobs dependent on military contracts. Okay, so that's a good question. Yes, a portion of my workforce is dedicated to federal contracts and military contracts, but I also do most of MAG Aerospace internal research and development. So I have a lot of MAG money that we reinvest back into developing new products. So some of my staff, like Mr. Nick Dazinski that's in the room with me right now, He works indirectly. He does not necessarily work on a contract, but he helps me pursue other work and negotiate different agreements with people like the Shoe Foundation on our actual test range that we're going to be testing UASs and doing other facilitated work. He also helps us work with DHS and some other people, and all of that is not on contract, so not all personnel are dedicated to contracts, but the majority of the people that work in the TISC right now are on contract with the federal government to deliver a lot of the products they have asked us to deliver. So it's kind of about a 75-25 split. 25% of my workforce is reinvested, 75% is contract based. All right. So the way the actual engineering piece works here, and I think this is a really good shot of what happens, we get a problem, we go through a full-on planning stage. We develop requirements, we go through course of actions or possible solutions, we do all the research, we do the testing, the modeling, the simulation. We determine out of what the problem set is all the commercial and federal ways that you can actually solve the problem, and then we present the 3 best answers to the customer. Once the customer actually agrees that that is the way they want to pursue the solution to their problem set, we then go into the execution phase. That's where we start to develop and design every portion of their solution. We start to build all of, we call it Department of Defense Architecture Framework, or the open architecture framework, in which case one is commercial, one is DoD specific or federal specific, and we will start to actually lay out all of the design, and not just from an electrical standpoint or a technology standpoint. We also evaluate the organization that we're building a solution for to make sure that they have the right skill sets to manage the technology and support the technology once it goes into place. They have the right facilities, they have the right air conditioning, the right electrical power supplies. All of these things get evaluated in this first part of the execution phase all the way until we get to a point of delivery. Once we get to a point of delivery, we've gone through a preliminary design and a critical design. We've done some testing, and we've gotten to a point where now we get into compliance, and where the difference in compliance from an engineering perspective is twofold. When we get the first requirement, it's an operational requirement. For instance, I need to be able to see a downed aircraft from 25,000 feet up in the air, and I need to be able to determine how bad the aircraft is damaged and determine what forces need to be put on the ground. That's an operational requirement. We have to turn that into a technical specification, which is must be able to produce 1080p, 30 frames per second, high quality video, so that all determinations at the personnel level or at an individual level can be seen and determined. And those are technical specifications in which, when we get to the compliance end, we test and we verify that we can meet the technical specifications in which we translated the operational need to, and then we validate by actually taking an aircraft, flying it at 25,000 feet, shooting the video, and have individuals actually test it and make sure it meets the operational requirement. And that's how we meet compliance of what we design in this facility. It doesn't necessarily end there, because then we have to train the people. We have to sustain the equipment once it goes in the field. And then we have to make sure that we're prepared to do any tech refreshes necessary as the years go on. So we don't just field a new technology and forget about it. We also build in a 3 to 5 year plan to make sure, as newer technology comes out, that we can implement it into the architecture we develop for the customer. Next slide. All right, so I'm going to answer a question real quick, because I think it's important to kind of keep everybody together here. So the question is, do you value transferable gaming type skills for hand-eye coordination for flying drones or UAVs? The short answer is yes, right? But not from the perspective that it's really on there, right? I believe, you go through your Part 107, you learn how to fly drones, and flying drones is not really where that hand-eye coordination really comes into play. Because we move information at high volumes and we stream lots of video, there is sensor management that takes place. And so we call anything that collects information, whether it be video, sound, telephone calls, doesn't really matter. It is considered a sensor. And there are people that work for MAG that do sensor management. And so they have to determine when they're looking at 27 FMV or full motion video feeds streaming, they've got to determine when one of those videos catches something that they need to pay attention to further. Now, the beauty of this is this was a very hard skill set to train people on, and now we're working with a group called the SAS Institute to automate and build in machine learning. Right now we're working with the West Coast in California so that when video cameras actually see smoke, it automatically alerts all of the stations to determine if that is a forest fire initiating, right? And so the actual camera and machine determines that right away. However, it still takes a sensor operator to go to that video feed, zoom in, determine if it's someone grilling hot dogs and hamburgers, because it could be, or if it really is a hot spot and it could actually grow into a wildfire. And the key here is to get to it before it gets to be a blaze. Because once those California winds kick up, there's no stopping the fire at that point. So ideally what we're trying to do is get in front of it through sensor management. And so yes, the answer is you most definitely can transfer all of those problem solving skills that you use in video games, all of your ability to move 3D objects in different locations and maneuver things, because we do have robotics that move the sensors and the cameras. And so all of those skill sets absolutely are transferable, but not necessarily in the same way. However, I do think that the more video games that you've seen in your life, and I'm not telling you to go home and play every video game, but I do believe most video games are built on the perspective of problem solving. So as you grow from less difficult video games to more difficult video games, you're actually teaching yourself complex problem solving skills that could possibly help you become a very good engineer, because you logically put yourself in place of the character on the screen and you say, how do I get from one point to the other? Engineering is very much the same thing. You're set with a problem and you have to visualize how do you get from your starting place, which is no system or no solution. You only have a problem, and you have to visualize before you even put the first thing on paper what your solution will look like. So all those skills are transferable. Let me tell you what is unique about this place. In most organizations, the project manager, the director, or someone like me is actually in charge of everything. That's not how it works here. Because here, I hire some of the most intelligent people on the planet, way smarter than me. I don't want to manage them. I want them to do what's called manage up. I need them to tell me how they're going to solve the problem, how they know how to bring in this new technology, and they have to explain it in a way that I can understand it and I can agree to the actual money that we're going to spend. But in this organization of engineering, the heart of decision making starts at the systems engineer and the enterprise architect, because they are the ones that actually determine the best way to solve the problem, not me. I did my time solving problems. Now I have all these super intelligent people that either learn through life experience or learn through an education in a traditional school, or have trained with other experts across the world and did industry certifications, and they tell me how the problem is solved. And to some extent, they manage me because they tell me, Chad, in order for me to do this, I need this many people and I need this much money, and then it's my job to provide them resources. So it's not traditional management here. This is not like, let's say this is not like plumbing or a traditional skill set where the person that's done plumbing for 25 years tells everybody else how the best way to do it is. Here, actually, the newer generation comes in with newer ideas. They're more apt on what's actually happening in the world, and they bring the best ideas to the actual business. Next slide. All right, so enterprise architecture. This is really boring, but if you really wanted to take your artwork and you wanted to apply it to a job here at MAG Aerospace, so if you're an artist and you're really wondering what career fields are out there for me in a technology standpoint, everything that I build here has to be visualized, documented, articulated in everything from still images, video, picture graphs, flow diagrams, actual tables. And when I say tables, it's like Excel spreadsheet. And you use your art skills to actually build the whole solution on paper. That is what my enterprise architects do here. Next slide. System integration. Again, remember how I was talking about the police officer, the fireman, the military guy? They got all these products. Systems engineering is when you take multiple products, you decompress the problem. So you say which systems can't talk to each other and why. Once you get all of that information, you come up with a preliminary solution and you recompress or recompose the solution so that every one of the devices speak at the same language, at the same speed, understand, have any middleware. So if you wonder if there's actually software developers here, sometimes we do develop software to allow two systems to translate. It would be like one of my systems speaks one language, one of my other systems speaks another language. There's nothing I can do to make them understand each other except build a translator so that everything that one system says, it gets translated into the right language for the other system to understand back and forth. So really and truthfully, systems engineering works what we call the system engineering V. That's the picture up at the top. It is how we tear down a problem and rebuild the solution. Next slide. Software development. Okay, so earlier today, me and Mr. Chambers had actually a really good conversation. Right now, most software developers in the industry today never finish college. There is such a need for software developers in all of the technology industry right now. They get hired out of their first to second year in college. Some of them get hired right out of high school. And so what I would tell you is if you can go to college, because it's an experience that you want. But if you don't want to go to college and you want to jump right into the technology field, software is where to do it. If you have an opportunity to learn Python right now, if you can learn Visual Basic, if you can learn C++, any of those languages, you will find that your skills will be marketable day one. But it's not about how good you read code or how good you write code. It's about how good you solve problems. So you can be the best software writer on the planet, but you got to be able to write the code to solve the problem. So it's all about problem solving. Next slide. Remote service support. All right, so for years and years and years, the military and commercial industry have built technology centers inside their businesses, and it takes 5 to 10 and sometimes 200 IT professionals to manage it. That's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to take away jobs from the industry, but what I will tell you is it's unmanageable. It costs too much, and the way technology runs, we focus here on automating and self-healing as much as possible. So when we field a solution, there is a certain amount of that solution that will actually fix itself. It uses a little bit of machine learning, a little bit of AI. It's a tough word. I'm not building any, robots to take over the world, but in most cases, it can determine when the software is not running at its optimal pace or at its optimal solution. So it will actually make minor corrections while it's being used. And then in most cases, what we try to do is make sure we can support multiple locations from a single place, which is here at the TISC, and we have help desk that they ask a few questions and they pass off to the engineer that's needed to help support it. We also do, and this is a really kind of out there techie word, out-of-band management. So out-of-band management is where we can log into their servers or we can log into their equipment, no matter where they're at in the world. We actually log into some of our work sites in the Philippines and we fix their equipment from right here. We don't fly there. We have secondary networks that allow us to get into their equipment and allow us to fix what they need to fix. But the important piece here is it doesn't allow us to access their information. It only allows us to fix their equipment. We completely separate, and that's why we call it out-of-band management, all of their information and distribution. We completely segregate that, move it to one pipe by itself, and then all of the technical management that's required to make the system do all the things that we built it to do runs on another network. I see a question that popped up. A while ago I said Part 107. So right now the FAA requires anyone that flies UASs for industry to have a Part 107 certificate. Now, if you're in Okaloosa, the beauty of that is if you wanted to fly UASs in the industry, your very own Dr. Shu at the Shu Foundation has a program where you can be certified in about a week. So it allows you to go take a job where you professionally fly UASs for industry. That is a Part 107 cert. Next slide. All right, this is my favorite because this is what I actually grew up doing. RF engineering. So this is where you get to talk to the satellites and the International Space Station, and you get to talk all the way across the world. And so what this really is just like you have a network that you plug in at your home, and you either plug into a Cat5 cable that goes in your to your modem or whatever device brings the internet into your house. You then slave all the rest of your devices to your modem through Wi-Fi. But guess what? It is really hard to run cable across the whole world. So instead of digging ditches and laying billions and billions and billions of cable across the whole world, we actually do a lot of the transport across satellites. And when we do it across satellites, we take all of that network and we put it on an RF carrier, and we do some of the most brilliant RF engineering in the world here. Now, I'm not just saying that. I will tell you, SpaceX has told us we are some of the most brilliant network engineers across satellites. It isn't because of me as much as I would like it to be because of me. It is because of my lead engineer, Jason Hernandez. If you're part of the Shu Foundation, he teaches a class there regularly, and he teaches you how to use Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and build computers and all kinds of stuff. And he does that on his own personal time so he can teach the community how to do all the cool things that he does, like build the networks for SpaceX. So, my favorite area that we do here. Next slide. Network engineering. And that, my friend, is where I'm the weakest. And so I have all of these cool network engineer guys that they have taken up to 10 years to get all of their certifications through either Cisco, Juniper. There's a number of other networking protocols. And what they do is they are the ones that bring the whole bigger, broader internet together. Lots of people can build a home network. These people build global infrastructure, and honestly, it is all ones and zeros, and they see machine language when they sleep at night. They dream of ones and zeros. They're just weird people, but they're good people. All right, next slide. Cloud computing and services. Instead of kind of really telling you about this, I'm going to tell you a quick story because I think the story is more important to you. So last year, about a year and a half ago, Miss April Branson called me up, said, Chad, we have a student that graduated from one of the Okaloosa school systems. She just graduated from Florida State, and she needs a job. And she really wants to come work for MAG Aerospace. Well, at the time, I only hired really senior people. And so I had this young lady. Her name was Hayden Miller. She came in here. She interviewed. She showed me her transcripts from Florida State, which I'm going to tell you, not impressed. Go to University of Florida. Just kidding. If you go to any college, it's a great college. But here's the difference. She came in here motivated. I tried every which way I could to get her to not want to take the job. Because I told her every reason I was going to fire her if she messed up. And she said, no, sir, I can do this. I will learn it. She had no idea of anything we did in this building. In less than 6 months, she had her Security Plus. She had her AWS Solutions Architect cert. She now has a Professional Solutions Architect cert, which typically takes people 4 years to get. She is constantly pursuing new networking protocols, and she builds virtual machines in the web. So she takes servers that once used to be physical devices in a rack, and she actually changes it all to software and puts it on machines for us today. She also moves all of my architecture, all of that great artwork that all my designers do, and she moves it into a repository maintained on Amazon Web Services through an architecture tool suite. In 1.5 years, she went from an intern salary to almost making 6 figures. She turned out to be one of my most brilliant young entrepreneurs and technologists. And I think that is motivation to you, that you can grow into anything you want. You just have to have the drive and the determination, which she has a ton of. And so from an Amazon Web Service perspective and cloud computing, she works with me on some of the stuff we're trying to do with DHS on moving radar information. She is working on how we move information from our cloud to the cell phones that our military members use and get situational awareness and video feeds. So it's just a brilliant home story of how you can go to school, do all the right things, and find yourself working in a great place like MAG and really determine how high you want to go. You get to determine that, not me. If you pursue the right path and you try really hard, you will grow into exactly what you want to be. Next slide. All right, analytics and machine learning, the big buzzwords of today. Although everybody thinks they can do it, it's not as easy as you would think. If you really want to do machine learning and analytics and you want to build the next AI machine, artificial intelligent machine, I will tell you right now, you need a love for statistics. Okay? It is not computer programming as much as you would think. It is all about understanding the statistics of every outcome that can happen and making sure that the machine can understand all of those outcomes too. And it's a bunch of algorithms and crazy mathematical formulas. And I will tell you from my perspective, not a job for me. That's why I went and found this wonderful place out in Cary called the SAS Institute. And they build machine learning and AI for everything from banks to the railroad system to airplanes. And I use their wonderful mathematicians who have like 15 years of math studies, and they determine the best way to teach the machine everything the machine needs to teach itself and to continually learn. It's a very difficult field. If it is a love and somewheres where you want to work, you need to focus on math right now, and you need to learn how to make it fun. Because in order to do math for 15 straight years, you got to make it fun. And so work with your teachers, work with your parents, but a lot of these jobs take math and science. And the only way you're going to stick with it is if you find ways to make it fun. When I was a kid, I used to watch a show called Mr. Wizard. My kids watched Mr. Beekman. It's all about just making it fun, right? And having some aspect to keep you engaged and keep you moving. Dr. Shu and Amanda Negron do a wonderful job of keeping you engaged at the Shu Foundation. I'm working with the Boys and Girls Club. Hopefully the International Space Station grant comes through. I'm going to help them build a network so you can talk to astronauts every day when you're there. The fact of the matter is, these programs are there to help you continually grow your love for that type of technology field. Next slide. I'm still seeing questions. All right, so cybersecurity. This is hot in the Northwest Florida region. Right now, the Navy over at NAS, what does that stand for? Naval Aviation Station, Naval Air Station. They have a full-blown cyber program for the Navy. We have lots of colleges in this area investing lots of money into it because in the end, what's relevant to you, what's relevant to your parents, is right now, every time you put your credit card number on the internet, you are concerned who is going to take it. Every time your name, your address gets posted, you're going to worry who has access to it. Every time your mom gets onto you or your dad gets onto you because you're on TikTok or whatever new app, Twitter, whatever is cool today, all of those things jeopardize you as an internet consumer. And so businesses today are finding ways to do better privacy and control settings, better network security so that your personal information and identification, PII, cannot be stolen. It's a big business in the criminal world to steal your digital personality. And so it's a very big growing field, and it's all built on protecting the internet consumer. Next slide. Mission information management. All right. This is kind of a fun one for me, right? If you were going to play a video game and you do like a MMO, does everybody know what MMO is? I'm trying to think of what it stands for now. What does MMO stand for? Doggone it. If you play like World of Warcraft, or you play these new army games, Battlefield Cry, where you're connecting to all these other people and you're playing, right? You cannot be successful unless you know three things. Who are you? Where are you? And what are you doing? Right? And so that is the basis of how I support the military. No joke. When the big general officers come to me and they say, I have a communication problem, I always tell them, let's start with wid. Because until you know that, it is hard to understand what information you need, where it needs to go, who needs to make the decisions. First, you need to know who's who in the zoo, right? You've got this big old map, and you've got to determine who every player is, where they're at on the map, and what it is they're doing so that you can successfully navigate and complete your mission. That is a big part of what I do here at MAG when I do all the negotiations for contracts, when I determine feasibility studies, when I help on operational planning teams, is I help them determine all the different technologies that can tell you who that person is, where they're at, and what they're doing. So mission information is just a broader term for saying situational awareness, and it's saying if I know I am here right now with Mr. Chambers in the TISC, and I know some of you are at Fort Walton Beach High School, and some of you are at the EDC, and some of you are at wherever, I can start to make certain decisions. If I don't know where anyone's at, I can't make any decisions. So that is a very important part of how we solve problems here, and knowing what that information is and how to achieve that information and how to network that information into the broader solutions. That is how we do everything. Next slide. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any. Okay, so got a couple of questions here. I like to just break it up and do some questions too, not just save them all for the end. So I got a question from Mr. Seeger. Do you sponsor security clearances? Absolutely. Not every brilliant mind went into the military. So no matter if I hire you out of the commercial sector, or hire you out of the military, or I hire you straight out of high school, I absolutely do sponsor security clearances, and I make sure to work with you to do all the paperwork, get you submitted, and get your clearance for you. That's not an issue. There was another question, am I hiring right now? I am hiring. I need another help desk person. I am hiring a beta tester for software, and I'm hiring a PM for some RF communication programs, and I am hiring an ATAC specialist. If you don't know what ATAC is, it is Android Tactical Assault Kit. It is what the military users use to see all of their friends, send text messages, and view video from their SUASs, or Small Unmanned Aerial Systems. It is their, for all intents and purposes, computer that they wear on their body that controls every other device that's in their personal area network. So I am hiring, and I will sponsor your security clearance if you can bring me what certification? Anybody know?
Security Plus.
Security Plus. All right. But before you can start here, you have to have your Security Plus certification. It is a mandatory requirement. Development and operational testing. So, most of our testing we primarily do either here. We have a big server stack in the back, and we do all sim and mod. We simulate up to 10 airports, 200 aircraft, 300 ground vehicles, and we build a composite network that allows all of them to talk to each other, all in milliseconds. So, that being said, that's primarily how we test. Secondary testing, up until recently, we would put the actual equipment in the field. One of the systems we developed is in the Pacific. We stood up the whole network. We did in the field testing, and now airplanes and other consumers use that network to track terrorist movement across the Pacific Ocean. That was our two main ways of testing. Now, thanks to a great partnership with Dr. Shu, we have a 400-acre test range out north of Bob Sykes that we will be able to do UAS testing, some IP67 testing. I'm going to work with David Haynes to figure that out. He owns PMI, or Precision Measurement Incorporated, and at the end of the day, we're going to create a commercial test center here that allows us to get away from having to schedule around military activity, and we can do internal research and development with all the different manufacturers here, and it is going to bring an awesome capability to this region. It will eventually need network testers, UAS testers, IP67 testers. If you're wondering what IP67 is, it is climate testing, whether it's really, really hot, really, really cold, saltwater splash, submersion, all of these things that we have to test the equipment, whether it can do, because if I'm going to put it on someone that's going to scuba dive, I got to make sure it doesn't break when it goes underwater. So that is one of the newest things I'm working on with Dr. Shu, and getting that stood up. MAG is going to invest around $2.5 million to build the test center out there for Dr. Shu. It is going to be awesome. It will be my third facility, and I'm already looking at 2 other ones for 2 other projects. So I'm a mover and shaker, just like Hayden Miller. All right. As far as that slide, really what it boils down to is anything we build, we must test. And again, like I said earlier, we test it to verify that it meets the performance specifications. We also test it to validate it still meets the operational intent of the original requirements. Next slide. All right, configuration management. Basically, right now in front of me, I have a computer, a camera, a speaker, and 2 TVs. In order to do this VTC, that would be considered a VDD, a visual document or visual description document. I must know the name of the computer, the serial number, all the software on the computer. I need to know what speaker name it is, nomenclature, model number, firmware that it runs, same thing for the TV, same thing for the camera, and I must manage that. And I may have 200 of these VTCs across the world, and when I decide to change one thing, that speaker for instance, I must make sure that that speaker works with every other VDD before I buy it. Or when I do buy it, I have to have all the software ready to go and all that stuff. And so configuration management really is all about controlling the build and making sure that if I have to upgrade down the road, I know exactly which systems have which equipment, and I know which ones need to be upgraded. So one change could mean a change for 2,000 systems, or one change could mean one change for one system. But I won't know that unless I have all the configuration management documents done, and I have an analytical tool that can tell me how many routers do I have to change worldwide. That is what configuration management and quality protection is. Next slide. Multimedia and marketing services. Now some people say this is really my favorite because I'm kind of shy on camera. Come in, Joe, come in. Have a seat, sir. So another unique thing about MAG is when I first started down here, I hired 2 production managers. And what I mean by production is they do everything from video development, document presentation, printing services. I have a train that is about 24 feet long that actually prints all of my documentation, from architecture to written material to anything and everything you need as a user to operate your equipment or to maintain it. All gets printed in-house. It's all developed by my 2 production managers, Nick Dazinski and Holly Carr. They also help me with things like American Heart Association. They do all my videos. They bring people in, shoot videos. They do interviews. They work with people like Florida Makes and help edit and develop content for them for all of their demonstrations, and even do commercials and marketing material for the whole company. When I do proposals or I have to bid on stuff, they will help me do all the graphics and all the design. And so this whole team really is what makes my image, as well as MAG Aerospace's image, as well as the team's image, and they manage that and maintain it, and they build our social presence across Northwest Florida and globally. Next slide. Customer satisfaction. The important part about doing business and then growing is that you maintain customer loyalty. My very first customer was the Chief Technology Officer at AppSoc, and it is that customer that always gets first priority before I do anything else, because he is my customer base. As we grow new customers, we assign new customer managers, and we make sure that they all get the same love. But from a customer satisfaction standpoint, what really makes the customer satisfied is when they give you a requirement that you deliver the actual verified technical solution as well as the validated operational solution, and then you maintain it and you keep up with them and you keep that relationship warm, because that's what it takes to have good customer interaction. Next slide. All right, so some of the fun stuff we do here is, I'm going through the questions here real quick. I'm going to answer that here in a minute. So as outreach and the way we move ourselves into different businesses and different industries is we actually highly participate in things like the Chamber of Commerce here. We help on projects like the half-cent sales tax. We help with things like, help me out, Nick. We do the first morning coffee. Nick does all of the opening ceremonies for new buildings. He does the ribbon cutting stuff. He manages a lot of that portion of the Chamber of Commerce. He's also on the board. And then we work at the EDC this year. I happily announce that I'm on the executive board at the EDC, so I'll help determine which companies we pursue and try to bring into the Northwest Florida region. So I am going to most definitely try and bring SpaceX here locally and bring Amazon here locally and a couple of other big players. We'll see how that goes. It's definitely more for Nathan Sparks, the director there, to manage that. I just advise and do my best to help him reach out to different industries and determine how to best build Fort Walton Beach. We play in Florida Makes and the Northwest Florida Manufacturing Council, and make sure that we do whatever counseling or provide information or support whatever they need. We do a lot with the Shoe Foundation and the Boys and Girls Club to make sure that we are building the pipeline for our future workforce. And I do some other stuff like Hope Matters, where I don't always just like to take care of the kids. That's where I take all the old people in Fort Walton Beach to their 60, 70-year-old prom, right? And it's fun time. I get to take all the retired people and wine and dine them, and they have their little prom dance, and they dress up, and it's really good for them because they are the ones that laid the foundation for us. So it's my time to give back to them for setting up the area the way it is, and it's what allows people like Mr. Chambers and myself to continue to invest with Dr. Shoe and with Nathan Sparks and with Ted Corcoran and all of these great officials that work in our area to continually grow our community and make it better for everyone. Next slide. All right, so let me get to some questions here. One question said, how does MAG determine who they use as suppliers? Well, two things, right? First, we have to have a need. And potentially one of my new suppliers, Mr. Joe Zuliani, just stepped in. He builds a lot of those SA tools and mission information management tools, and they have just recently built one for the medical sector called the MedCop, Common Operational Picture for Medical Field. And so first they have to have a need, and once they have a need, we do what's called due diligence. And that's where my legal staff goes in, researches the company, makes sure that they're financially stable and that they don't have any, problems or have any conflicts in any areas that we work in. And then also make sure if they're foreign entities that we have all of our trade policies in place and information sharing policies and OCI policies, which is organizational conflict of interest. But the fact of the matter is we go through this really robust due diligence process, and then once we have the approvals, we enter them in our cost point system, and we start to negotiate what type of business we want to do with them. So that's exactly how we do that. Let me see what other questions we got. Okay, one of the questions was, are all of our products customly designed? Okay, that's a great question. All the products are built by other manufacturers, right? Viasat builds SATCOM equipment, L3 West builds SATCOM equipment, Cisco builds routers, HP, Dell, they build the computers I use, but the system of system architecture in which we do here to solve different military or emergency worker problem sets is 100% custom to the customer, because each customer has different operational procedures. In the military, we call them TTPs, or tactics, techniques, and procedures of how they do business every day. So we customize the network solution and the information management directly to their individual needs. So every product that we develop here, because it is a system of systems solution, is custom, but every product comes from another manufacturer, and I make those relationships with those manufacturers so I can modify them or make changes as necessary. A lot of times when I do make those changes, I give them back to either the office that procured the products or even the vendors themselves, depending on what kind of changes it is. Cisco is kind of a unique partnership of mine, where I have what's called a technology partnership, where I have the ability to change their code to do very special stuff with people like SpaceX, because today's routing protocols do not support the new age networking. So I have software developers here that have actually wrote new code so that when LEO services become available for the full commercial sector, it will be able to operate securely and meet all of those cyber applications, right? All right, I'm going to take a pause because I think we've kind of run over. I apologize, but Amanda or Paul, anybody step in and tell me what to do now.
I think that's great, Chad. That was really a master class in how to engage with the community and how the students go about researching what they need to do, once they're planning their careers. I really appreciate all of that information, and I think we're all set. That's all the questions.
Okay, well, I really appreciate the schools taking time out of their lesson plans. And we do have a Game Changers event coming up. So if you're part of the Shoe Foundation, when is that?
Saturday, November 7th, 1 to 3.
So we're going to have all the students come here, play with the engineers, see how we do things. And if Mr. Chambers wants to schedule anything else through some other discussions, we will. We look to maybe get some new artwork for my new facility across the parking lot. But we are going to plan to continue to work with you however you need. And so we do work with Ms. Gates on mentoring students as necessary. So please feel free to email us or reach out to the website, reach out through Mr. Chambers or Ms. Gates, and we'll try and support all your needs. But you all have a great day at school, and hope we can do it again next year.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Fantastic.
Thanks, Mr. Chambers. All right.
Thanks, everybody.